What it is, everybody. Happy Tuesday? I can't keep track of my days anymore. Doshi, is it Tuesday? He doesn't know. I have an exciting show for you today. I see some people are tuned in. I think this is, well, it's really weird. Yesterday, I hear something. Is that just the headphones? Oh, okay. No big deal. I was just hearing my voice replayed to me. Yesterday, somebody called into my show. This is about QAnon. If you haven't heard about that entity before, do some research on the internet. QAnon and a channel on YouTube and a website called American Intelligence Media with a couple characters, maybe a married couple, Thomas and I can't remember the name of his, apparently his wife, the way it seems. I got a phone call during my show yesterday talking about American Intelligence Media and telling me that they were saying things that I've been talking about for a while, and it kind of went along with what I've been saying. And I'd never heard of them. I looked at the video. We went on Twitch. We watched Thomas and Betsy. Somebody in the chat, Jay, is saying that they're frauds and his real name is Douglas Gabriel. Well, I have some other information on the guy, I believe. And this might be an interesting show. We're going to dig in a little bit into what American Intelligence Media is. The reason we're talking about it is this video. People are still getting tuned in on YouTube. Q exposed as PSYOP. A video that dropped on March 26th. Today is March 27th. This was just yesterday. Video that has almost 60,000 views. Has a lot of thumbs down and lost them some subscribers. The first time I ever heard about American Intelligence Media was yesterday when someone called in to tell me about it. Soon enough, everybody's talking about them. And that includes Unirock. I was watching his show yesterday. He starts talking about American Intelligence Media, reviewing this video about Q. He's talked about Q before. I've talked about Q before. DeFango's talked about Q before. DeFango apparently is about to be on their show right now. He said he was going to live stream it. I don't know if that's even with their permission or not. I was trying to catch it. It hasn't started yet. So I don't know that we'll be able to get to it during this show. I just want to explore who these people are, and then we can take some phone calls about it, I guess. And I'll tell you a little bit of what they're talking about. They're talking about a lot of stuff that's kind of true from what I can tell, but nothing that hasn't been said before on this channel and on a few other channels who have been looking into Q for a long time. So these two individuals, Thomas and Betsy, they go by. They talk, this is my first impression, they talk in a very strange way, like they're on the radio in 1950. And that's the first thing that put up my spidey senses about them. The second thing is they know a lot of stuff. They're getting stuff right. And the third thing is you'll hear that Thomas says that he was in the NSA and he was a cryptographer for the NSA. So that's why in the title it says American Intelligence Media, parentheses, NSA, exposes Q, question mark. They say they've exposed Q. I'll play you a little clip from their video right now, and then I'll play my intro, and we'll get back to the show. And maybe we'll have some guests in the chat who have some opinions about this. I see Doughboy's there. We always have an all-star crew. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. That is our producer, Doshi, and we have a third today with the cone on. That's Sumi, the little Boston Terrier who's got an eye problem, has to wear the cone right now until that clears up. Let me play you a clip from this video that we'll be talking about today.
We're going to, because what do we do here at Aim for Truth? We hit the mark. We hit the mark of truth. And so we're going to give you the puzzle. Search it out. Go on the internet. Look up Cicada 3301, which was in the original posts as the original puzzle and lead for anyone who was a cryptologist. I'm a cryptologist. I helped invent a lot of the NSA original cryptology. I actually helped write it. So I really love cryptology. So when I saw the first one, I told John Barnwell, oh, that's a collection and operations center, NSA person looking at a screen. And when I asked the collective if I was right about that, they said, well, yes, almost exactly. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And I can't say the next thing. And then they said, yes. So all along the way, the people that we have now contacted us because we solved the riddle confirm everything. The other people, and Betsy's being very humble. We have 100% proof of who started the phenomena, where, when, the time, the dates, the date stamps, the entire internet proof. They sent it all to us. We have all that. That's not the issue. The people who set up the channels weren't the wizards. The Q are a bunch of wizards. These are the smartest people around. If you solve these riddles, you'll be invited into a group. You've heard about this. You've seen movies about this. I didn't believe it. It's real. Now, I'm going to give you the riddle. So,
in the meantime,
all you geniuses,
we invited them into our collective.
Yes, we invited them into our collective, and they find us to be somewhat interesting.
We posted
Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. I bring you the news, the real news. Then let's get right to it. I see there are already a lot of opinions in the chat. Before I get to that, this show is generously sponsored by Truth Revolution Clothing. That is truthclothing.io. It's actually my company. And we make t-shirts like this Truth Matters t-shirt, which I suggest it does more than ever these days. If you go to that website, truthclothing.io, you'll see something that looks like this. And these are the 3 featured shirts at the moment you may have seen your host wearing from time to time. Everything is in stock in most sizes right now. We just ordered a new run of the Russian bot shirt, which continues to be popular. They're very high quality shirts, screen printed by hand here in California. Not the digitally printed shirts that you'll see sold on most other channels, if not all of them. These are designs we actually think will do well. We pay the money to print them ahead of time, and then we ship them out fast. Shipping is usually less than $3, and there's no sales tax. So do what everybody else is doing. Take advantage of that. We want to grow it, make more stuff. We enjoy doing it. And you actually, instead of just donating to the show, you support the show, and you actually get something really cool in return that you'll be able to wear for a long time. So that is the extent of the shilling that you'll hear on this show, and I don't mind doing it. So welcome. I can see there are a lot of opinions in the chat, so I'm looking forward to phone calls after we go over a little bit of what was said. I don't think what they said is bullshit. If I did, it would be weird because I said exactly the same thing a while back, and DeFango said exactly the same thing, or some of the same things, even further while back. Whatever we think of DeFango, and we've gone back and forth with that guy for a while. And as a reminder, he said he's appearing with them. They're calling him to do an interview with him today. Let me review what they said in the clip that I played at the beginning. I'm going to play it again. I think some people aren't exactly clear about what they said, but I know a lot of the things they're saying are true, so I can maybe decode that for you. I wanted to make sure you knew that the Thomas character, who I believe I have personally had contact with, spoken with on the telephone. Didn't know that he was also this person. DeFango also knows that individual the way I know him, and it says that there's some reason to believe that I'm right about knowing who he is. And there are a lot of reasons to have questions, very serious questions about what the end game is of this Betsy and Thomas character that appear on the internet now and have been for a little while. They just only got on my radar. They actually first got on my radar but didn't stay there because of Roy Potter. Roy Potter, the QTuber who popped up around the same time as the rest of the QTubers and started getting views and becoming a big channel. He featured a video from these two, and the video is very cult-like, and much of what they do is very cult-like, and they mention that they have a collective, or I believe they call it a conclave from time to time. You have to listen closely to what they say. They don't show their faces, they don't give their full names, and they don't show anything on the screen except for one still image for the entire videos. Although they say they'll show you everything, they say they'll do that some other time. I'll tell you about my experience with Thomas, I believe, who's the same person. I'll tell you the reasons for that. I'll tell you, I'm going to show you some of the things that are plainly available on their website. They're not making a secret about trying to start a cult or a secret society. And then we'll take phone calls and we'll see what other people think. This is, I think, the news of the internet at the moment. I just want to review piece by piece what we just heard for people also who might just be tuning in.
Because what do we do here at Aim for Truth? We hit the mark. We hit the mark.
Like I said, their speech is very affected, which you can take that as you will, but they're putting on a show, which is strange.
Of truth. And so we're going to give you the puzzle. Search it out. Go on the internet. Look up Cicada 3301, which was in the original posts.
Cicada 3301. Okay, that is something that we talked about with DeFango and we made a big deal about on the 1st of this year. If you look at if you search DeFango Q Cicada, you'll see that 4 months ago, DeFango was already talking about Q and Cicada 3301 being related. He says nobody was listening to him, and I think he's just about right on that. Nobody was really paying attention. Later on, he made a revelation to me at the time. He had already made this video about Q being Cicada. Later on first, I made a video without having seen DeFango's work 3 months ago called Q Drain the Swamp Puzzles and the Network, in which I proposed, and you can see the Q logo there is a puzzle piece. I proposed that Q was a puzzle, not unlike Cicada 3301. Then I had DeFango actually on the show, and I heard it first on another show, I played that, of him saying who he believed Q was, saying that, that video is, it's the second video that comes up. Q identity revealed, QAnon in the storm. That's when DeFango said that, right at the beginning of this year, that Q was a puzzle designed by the guys that were behind Cicada 3301, who Thomas goes on to describe as super geniuses.
As the original puzzle and lead for anyone who was a cryptologist. I'm a cryptologist. I helped invent a lot of the NSA original cryptology, actually.
He's a cryptologist who helped invent a lot of the original NSA cryptology. He has turned into a truth teller, someone trying to get the truth out and build his own network to do so. The reason I think that it's the same Thomas that I spoke with on the phone, I'll tell you about that, is because that Thomas was also a cryptologist, a wealthy individual who invited me allegedly to his home as part of an attempt to recruit me into some type of a network. They're going to talk about recruiting into networks and how Q is designed for that. And I've talked about these puzzles for a long time and how they are recruiting tools, I believe, for intelligence agencies. And what they do is they go through and they find people that solve the problems, or people who develop a good YouTube following, or people that people listen to, and then they attempt to recruit them to be a part of their team as part of what I believe would be controlled opposition. And this is the way they control people on YouTube and people who are looking deep into these issues and are able to see through what other people can't see through. A lot of times looking for people with high IQs.
You helped write it. So I really love cryptology. So when I saw the first one, I told John Barnwell, oh, that's a collection and operations center, NSA person looking at a screen. And when I asked the collective if I was right about that,
the collective allegedly has some sort of collective around this show, American Intelligence Media show, and websites that helps out with these stories, gives intelligence to these people. Not much different than Crowdsource the Truth alleges to do. Not much different from what this show actually does, which is also to collect open source material and get sent material from my listeners, a lot of whom are brilliant. But officially a network which feeds them information to help them expose the truth. The claim is that Q initially was a real thing, but a real thing in only of the sense that it was some kind of NSA generated puzzle. Cicada 3301 he mentions specifically. So in terms of giving some credence to that, that's exactly what DeFango said. It's about what I surmised without having any inside information, just on my experience with being on the other end of these puzzles, with the attempts to recruit me, the attempts to sway me. I actually have a story also about someone approaching me when I was talking about Q, and when I talked about DeFango and what he said about Q. And I believe it's all, there is some type of intelligence activity behind this. And I'll explain, like I said, for people who didn't get what these guys are saying, exactly what they're saying. And I'm going to be playing from what they said. And I'm not worried about playing too much from what they said, because as true truthers, as they represent themselves, they are okay with other people playing their material and using it how they'd like. So I'm going over that as they would hope I would. And they will have no problem with me doing this. Everything is a puzzle. Anything that appears is another part of the game. So I might expect to be contacted by these individuals to talk about it. We'll see. And the phones will be open at the end of the show. So these individuals suggest that they want to talk to anybody who disagrees with them. And I don't disagree with them, actually. If they are some kind of limited hangout, then they're giving the truth. In this case, reasons? Well, maybe they realize people have become disillusioned with the Q psyop, and there needs to be controlled opposition at every corner, or they are exactly who they say they are, a cult of some sort, trying to expose the truth through their particular means, which is building a network and getting it out there. Or they could be another part of the intelligence community, as he says he was NSA. Some of the people I've dealt with also have NSA backgrounds. including Dave Acton, who is allegedly George Webb's brother. George Webb also has intelligence background, and a lot of people have questions about him. These guys are asking legitimate questions about people like Jerome Corsi, saying he's a Q-tard, basically, and he should be talking about the real thing, and others who have jumped on the Q movement. They also suggest, and maybe I'll be able to play it so you can hear it from their mouth, that they wonder about these Q-tubers and if they got picked up and if they're being paid to push the ridiculous Q narrative. And maybe I'll talk about that after we get over this first clip.
They said, well, yes, almost exactly. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And I can't say the next thing. And then they said, yes. So all along the way, the people that we have now contacted us, because we solved the riddle, confirm everything. The other people...
Okay, so this is the suggestion. Because of these puzzles, because they're designed to recruit people and identify people, if not recruit, identify and in order to be able to manipulate, something that's done through social media too with all of your posts. They want to identify you, especially if you're special, especially if you're different, especially if you have high intelligence, and especially if you have any extra normal skills, paranormal skills, psychic ability, and so forth. And if you think differently, they want to identify you and then in some cases recruit you if they believe you could be helpful to them. They want to influence what you talk about. The point he's making is that they were able to solve the puzzles, which sets off a warning light to the people behind the puzzle to reach out to them and say, okay, you're special. You solved this part of the puzzle. We want to bring you on the real team. And then you get to learn the next step in the process, which typically is not that you're going to be told something that's very much different than what the underlying truth is. DeFango was recruited, which he says, for the Cicada in conjunction or as part of the Cicada 3301 puzzles, because he allegedly found the Spear of Destiny all on his own by solving puzzles, and that resulted in him being contacted and in an attempt to recruit him, and you'd have to ask him and hope for a straight answer about what role he plays, or if there is a role he plays in Cicada. I was contacted by someone who allegedly knew someone famous who knew who Q was. Buttered me up a bit, gave me a nice Bitcoin donation, told me some things that sounded pretty true, but I don't know. Talk about Q, telling me Q was real and that somebody knew who they were, and a bunch of other information about there being AI involved and about it being studied like a virus. And a lot of people are saying the same thing, that, and maybe I'll get a chance to play it from these guys, is that it's a network that was created, that was the intention of it, that circumvents the media, and it's able to make things happen. What's that? Someone's in Twitch. Oh, someone's in Twitch. Okay, great. Okay, great. So I have Thomas in Twitch. Oh, okay, great. That was him. Right. So I don't know. He was cool. He was cool, okay? I'm just telling you this is the kind of thing that happens. I don't freaking know what's going on in this world. I have the guy allegedly who contacted me allegedly in the chat right now on Twitch, where 40 people are watching, by the way. You can join the party there. I was approached with some information that I don't know if it's true. I didn't run with it. It may be that it was good. It may be that it was bad, but it happens. It happens when you make a splash somehow by solving some part of a puzzle or by making some sort of an impact, that you'll be approached to try to guide what you're talking about one way or the other. And that's, I believe, why I was contacted. This person was a nice person, watches my show, apparently is watching my show right now. So I'm not saying anything definitively, only that I was making some sort of an impact in the Q discussion. And after that happened, I was approached with some information out of nowhere. And I didn't go into much into it on the show or necessarily assume that it was totally legit. so I didn't put it out there because of the way, you know, it was unsolicited information, unsolicited generous donation. So I'm skeptical of everything. And I was skeptical of Thomas when he contacted me back when I was in the middle of Pizzagate and the Hampstead child abuse case. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. There are a lot of different things to talk about with this case. Play a little more of this, and then I'll play a little more further along.
And Betsy's being very humble. We have 100% proof of who started the phenomena, where, when, the time, the dates, the date stamps, the entire internet proof. They sent it all to us. We have all that.
They have all the proof, but they will not show it. I'm sorry, they have not shown it, as far as I know.
That's not the issue. The people who set up the channels weren't the wizards.
The wizards.
The Q are a bunch of wizards. These are the smartest people around. If you solve these riddles, you'll be invited into a group.
There.
You've heard about this. You've seen movies about this. I didn't believe it. It's real.
You should believe it. Okay. So when I was in the middle of doing Pizzagate, when out of nowhere I was attacked by a lot of different sources, and when I was covering the Hampstead case, I was approached by Thomas, who was a cryptographer, who also composes music, goes by the Stig on THSTG on YouTube, has contacted other YouTubers. DeFango knows him, doesn't know him as the same Thomas. I'm just telling you because it shouldn't be a secret. And hides his face, doesn't give his last name as far as I know. Has a few websites, has a secret society. That person invited me over to their home, which apparently was nearby. So, but DeFango said he's going on a 3:30 p.m. Central Time, which is already passed. He said he was saying Central Time, and he's not in Central Time. So that puts them in the Midwest somewhere. I don't know where they're located. I was invited to a fancy house around here during that time, told that I was really awesome. This is when maybe I've had 30,000 subscribers on my main channel because I've been kicked off of it so often since last summer. So it's kind of when stuff was going on. Maybe people were watching the channel. Maybe I didn't realize that I was more popular than I thought I was. And I was approached to do something, but I never went to the meeting. I didn't like the way he communicated with me, because it was only by email after I'd said over and over again that I hate to communicate by email and that it's going to be really slow and that he could contact me XYZ ways. And it was refused every time. It stuck with email, and I finally just stopped emailing him and didn't follow up with the appointment because it pissed me off, and that was the kind of person I was back then. So that's why I think those two characters are related. One of the things that was pitched to me by that person was to have Robert David Steele on my show, which I found really suspicious because I hardly knew Robert David Steele at the time. I had no idea, though, why he'd want to be on my show or why I'd want him on my show, considering that when I looked around, he'd been on every other show, and I like to cover stuff that was different than what other people are talking about. And I wouldn't know the motivations for Robert David Steele coming on my show, except I assumed to try to sell books, which, again, I thought I had a pretty small audience, so I didn't know why that was going on. The other show he said he would get me an interview on this show, that just got kicked off the internet. Victorious Libertas, who had just popped up and become a new channel, subsequently became bigger than my channel, along with a lot of the interlopers who popped in. Ended up they've inserted themselves and they've developed a network since we started talking about them. Anyway, I was invited to be on that show. That channel has been deleted, so it's harder for me to say they're shills, but they are Trump shills in the sense that, quite frankly, as a Trump shill, they're people that beyond reason support Trump, and like SGT Report, who I believe does it because he's paid to do it, probably, and maybe very well paid, because it's very deliberate propaganda from SGT Report. It seems like everything is done for a reason, and be careful about that virtual shield software, by the way. The NSA is known to use tools like that to lure people in who want to be hidden so that actually they can track every single thing that you do. So be careful about that. Anyway, that was my experience with this puzzle maker. Little did I know that I might have been being drawn into something like Cicada 3301 or something like the secret society that they advertise for on their website. Should I go to the website now? Okay, I've told you about this, the secret society, right? These two individuals are called American Intelligence Media. They can call in later because they seem willing to talk to anybody. This is their website, American Intelligence Media, AIM for Truth. It's aimfortruth.org. This is the home of their website. The nice site, actually, lots of news, lots of information. Seems like they have somebody, more than one person, putting it together because it seems relatively well put together. Nothing totally agenda driven by the headlines themselves, although one of the things they've been talking about is the Special Executive Service, the SES, Senior Executive Service, the SES. And the other thing they say is that if people aren't talking about the Senior Executive Service and how they are the deep state, if somebody's not talking about that, then they're definitely a shill. I'm not talking about it because I can't say that I know much about it, but they write about it on this website, American Intelligence Media, aimfortruth.org. Titus Frost, this is how topical this is. Titus Frost just did a video about it, about this Senior Executive Service, reading from the article actually from American Intelligence Media. Strangely enough, I found this website, Patriots for Truth, which is patriotsfortruth.org, run by exactly the same people. This says Voices of the American Intelligence Media. There are actually 3 websites that they're affiliated with relatively similar propaganda on each one. Not saying propaganda in a bad way, but one of the things that's on both websites is an article about the deep state being the Senior Executive Service. I cannot confirm or deny that. I'll only say that a lot of people are talking about it right now, that one of their proposals as American Intelligence Media is that anybody who's not talking about it is a shill, like I said, and that people talking about Q in particular are either severely misled or running or participating in the intelligence operation, the PSYOP, the psychological warfare that Q is. That's Patriots for Truth. This is where it gets weird, okay? The first thing I see on this website is this option for the glass bead game. This is what I click on first. Play our glass bead game. This game of consciousness leads to real change. This is where we start getting into the same language I've seen around Cicada, around Project Mayhem 2012 and 2020, around, I'm trying to remember the secret society that I looked into before with the Sevens involved in it. I was talking last summer about another secret society who, the SVV, who DeFango was connected to. All of these puzzles and secret societies are all kind of connected in the end. You can tie them all together. They talk about this waking up, which is also a raising consciousness, and they offer ways to do that. They offer to teach you to be more than yourselves, to be able to affect change in the world, to change the world. I'm just going to read you what it says here right on their own website. The American Intelligence Media is not an ordinary aggregator news site. It is a place where seekers go for deep truth and higher knowledge. Skim the headlines of the day or start working your way up a mountain of citizen intelligence reports that we continue to provide you. Along the way, you might see a door within the site that looks interesting. You will need a key to unlock the door. The key is your resonance to the words or phrases that are displayed. When you click on the hyperlink, you will be taken to another level of play which takes you to a higher level of knowledge. At a more profound level, our site is for the 5D thinker who sees that our existence, actually, to help you guys get on those higher vibrations as well. So this show also is a little cult-like, although we haven't been focusing on that aspect of things lately. If you didn't know, welcome to the cult. It is different than others because you can always leave. If you have been a 3D or 4D gamer, then we challenge you to this amazing 5D game. It is a glass bead game. You will recognize when you reach a higher level of play, as it will contain similar content to the level that you were just on. At each higher level, you will have more revelations. We started in 2012 to develop this cosmological space for you. We too can have our secret societies that they don't know about. If you have made it to this page, then welcome to the first level. Don't give secrets away to neophytes. Bring 10 people into the game. Well, guess what? We have 330 people tuned in. I maybe am bringing some people to the game. Everything, all secret societies are based on different levels. You progress from one to the other, and secrecy. Don't give secrets away to neophytes. Bring 10 people into the game. Recruiting starts right away, like a pyramid structure, okay? The lower you recruit, and then the people below you recruit, and then you move up in levels. You have recruits below you and recruits below you, and you become a little higher in the pyramid. But what's at the top of the pyramid? Good question. In order to play the GBG, you will need to increase your vibrational frequency so that you can use your resonance as a compass to navigate the 5D game field. May we suggest that you check out our recommended videos on our YouTube channel to get started? I haven't looked at those yet. Maybe I will. I'll go back to the videos. Enter the Invisible College. Have you heard about something called the Invisible College? If you enjoy listening to your favorite internet personalities discuss the esoteric realm of woo-woo or the mysteries of the grand illusion, then you may enjoy visiting our Invisible College. Not everyone who reads the American intelligence media will be interested in this topic. We get it. But many of our readers and viewers are ready to go further in their exploration of the truth, knowledge, and wisdom. If the exploration into higher realms of consciousness interests you, then use our key to open the door to a place that is beyond space and time, a path of higher knowledge. Enter here, and we will. Below is another excerpt from the post on the Invisible College. It is to be hoped that a future history of spiritual evolution will call this time the age of awakening self-consciousness. Everything that we see these days is mind control, okay? There are key words. We are awakening. We are being red-pilled. You'll hear Thomas talk about red-pilling people over and over and over again. I've said how the red pill is being used in a way that is not correct because people in the Q community say they're being red-pilled to be brainwashed, that they should trust Jeff Sessions, that Donald Trump is playing 4D chess and leading us into a perfect future, that getting rid of Donald Trump, that we just need to leave Donald Trump alone so that he can succeed. These people apparently will tell you that John Bolton is a great guy. That's what I heard from my phone call from someone who knows a little bit more about these people. I've had limited time to do research on them before coming on today. I'll read more from this Invisible College. Only now does man become, in the true sense of the word, aware of the whole scope of his soul life as ego. The full weight of this fact is more instinctively felt than distinctly known by the philosophical spirits of that time. All philosophical aspirations of that epoch retain this general character up to the time of Scotus Erigena. The philosophers of this period are completely submerged in religious conceptions with their philosophical thinking. Through this type of thought formation, the human soul, finding itself in an awakened self-consciousness entirely left to its own resources, strives to gain the consciousness of its submergence in the life of the world organism. Thought becomes a mere means to express the conviction regarding the relation of man's soul to the world, that one is gained from religious sources. Steeped in this view, nourished by religious conceptions, thought life grows like the seed of a plant in the soul of the earth until it breaks forth into the light. The SVV, Secret Society cult, which disbanded after I talked about them, after they allegedly had their July 7th, 2017 cicada unwrapping, the marriage, the wedding, which was based on the alchemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz. It's the same philosophy. It's the same philosophy as, it's similar to the philosophy of Freemasonry. They'll give you a little bit of the truth, especially on the lower levels, to actually help you evolve spiritually. Eventually, you'll be led somewhere, though, and you don't know who the higher power is. I'm just going to click. This is the Invisible College. I mentioned Christian Rosenkreutz. Suggested articles here on the side. Christian Rosenkreutz is calling his pupils. Are you on? That would be who the Rosicrucians are based on. Here's Secrecy of the First Class, the Circle and Steiner Freemasonry. Steiner's Inner Circle of 12 and Summoning Christian Rosenkreutz. It's based on alchemy. These two, whoever's behind American intelligence media, is into the esoteric, is into secret society type structures. They talk about secrecy. They talk about Christian Rosenkreutz. Alchemy. It's all based on similar philosophy as Hermeticism, which I also follow. And I believe there's quite a bit to it. I believe there's quite a bit to what Christian Rosenkreutz wrote. Personally, actually. But this is what's going on with these guys, American intelligence media, this guy who was in the NSA. And I'm telling you, what he's talking about is mostly accurate, I believe. He's given the truth to what this Q thing is all about. So let me move on. But there are other things to worry about. For example, if my caller was correct, very supportive of John Bolton, for example. Similar to the Q group. And let me talk about Q for a second. The Q group, who will go on to justify everything that looks like Donald Trump does wrong and say it's totally by plan, it's perfect. I have stopped bitching about Q. But Q is an incredibly dangerous thing. It's created a network where now they have control over a large group of people, where they've mind controlled them entirely. There is no getting through to a lot of the people who follow Q. However, that thing exists now. It doesn't matter if it changes. There are people that will just blindly follow anything he says. Boom, panic mode. You know, it doesn't matter. Q says it, it's real. Whatever Q wants you to think about, you'll think about. It's a very, very dangerous thing for people who are actually seeking the truth to think that they've been red-pilled, because and they've been red-pilled, and now they know that Donald Trump is leading us into salvation, and all that we need to do is stop people from interfering with Donald Trump's genius 5D chess. It is a ridiculous on its face. The first thing Q ever said was that Hillary Clinton would be arrested the next day. Then he said John Podesta and Huma Abedin would be arrested. Those things never happened. From then on, people should just say, okay, Q, why don't you prove one effing thing? I can't believe people still listen to it. I was listening to Anti-School for a few seconds. I mean, it's unbearable to listen to these people like SGT Report go and justify the things that Donald Trump is doing that are patently terrible for this country. It's unbearable to do, but what can I do? People are going to think what they're going to think. We're in an age of mind control. These particular people know mind control better than most because one of them was an NSA cryptographer, whatever it is. That's my piece on that. I'm going to play a little bit more about from the video that I saved, and then I'll take phone calls, and hopefully we take calls from anybody. We answer all kinds of questions. We're not afraid of that. Okay. Here he's going to describe the network created by Q. This is right on, and similar to what the person who contacted me about Q, who I said is in the chat and Twitch, very nice person. Now I'm saying that now that he's here, but yeah, seemingly on the surface, I just don't know. I don't trust anybody who approaches me with unsolicited information because they like me. That's what Thomas did too. I mean, they really like me. So come over, let's talk. Let's join this cult.
We're going to continue.
Okay, so now this is a great place to explain cyber warfare. May I take a moment to do that?
Please.
Okay. So then you have the original Q, and these people are master puzzle makers. So that's a tip. And they created this phenomena, and millions of people started playing Q. Now, what they have done is they've laid a communication network down, and it's bypassing the mainstream media and also much of the alternative media that's just filled with psyops. So, for example, you might find a former radio broadcaster who now is on independent alternative media, but maybe he or she is paid by the Bureau of Broadcasting Governors or something. You have other independents that are running around, taking plane trips, filming everyone everywhere in the world. You have to ask who's paying for them. And again, you might find
every independent media source is going to be approached by intelligence in order to try to control what they say. Every single one, whether it's me or Unirock or SGT Report or Tracy Beans or Jordan Sather or Anti-School, at one point somebody came into their life and tried to get them to talk about their message. And in many cases, it doesn't take very much money as far as the budget of the government to influence or to pay somebody to say what you want them to say. I have never explicitly been offered money to say anything. I wouldn't take it, and I'm very suspicious of everyone. I try to always stay on my own message from the thoughts that come out of my own head and not repeat things I was told that I can't verify. But this is going to happen to anyone who gains any kind of traction, because it's a lot easier to take somebody who's already gained credibility, who's already created a network, corrupt them, blackmail them, whatever it is, get as much information about them as possible. I've been threatened. I've had a person actually impersonate somebody to take information from me. I've had a lot of experience actually with different kinds of intelligence, whether it's from cults or actual intelligence agencies. It's hard to say, but it happens. And that's what they're talking about, is that if you solve these puzzles, you will be approached. If you gain any traction, if you have influence, you will be approached. You'll be approached and they'll attempt to recruit you.
Find that they were and are still SES employees, maybe even drawing a pension from SES.
Some people have been planted from the very beginning. There are a lot of people that suddenly popped up in the alternative media and became, over time, entrenched, with a number of subscribers and viewers and reach. And they were likely set there from the beginning. People that you don't understand why they're on YouTube. They're independently wealthy. They seem to have unlimited funds to be able to go around with, whether it be 15,000 subscribers, 30,000 subscribers. They never have to worry about that. And they're on YouTube for some reason trying to expose the truth.
So we've drilled down and we know who they are and we know how they're getting paid. I know you're going to talk about
Okay. They know who they are and they know how they're being paid, but they will not tell you
that later. But in order, if you were late to the game, if you're PSYOPs and you're late to the game, it's very difficult to build a network so quickly. I mean, some of you guys are out there in alt media space just starting your channel, and you put up YouTube and maybe you get 50 hits, maybe 100. But in order to get your lines going, you've got to leverage off people and make connections. Well, Thomas and I started this a few years ago. We saw what was...
Okay, this is totally correct. Q is a phenomenon and incredibly valuable, and would be if it were organic at the beginning. The fact that it might be taken over by intelligence agencies or rogue elements is very likely because it did something totally phenomenal that maybe has never been done before. Completely circumvented all traditional means of mass communication and created a network effect where Q says something and then a bunch of QTubers say something, and then everybody's talking about it. Twitter hashtags start trending, boom, panic time, whatever it is. It is an incredibly powerful, Q is an incredibly powerful thing. If channels did nothing else but decode Q messages all day, then they will get tens of thousands of views and eventually tens of thousands of subscribers. It's not that Anti-School or Jordan Sather or Roy Potter or Tracy Beans have brought some unusual talent, and you might watch different shows. You might say, well, why does this channel have 70,000? Why does this channel have more subs than another channel I watch when the content isn't necessarily anything that special? Well, I'm telling you, this Q thing, if you talk about it, and if you know generally what trending topics to talk about, but Q is very sticky, and people will come and watch and watch and watch and watch, and people theoretically decode these messages. They feel like they're a part of something. Q makes them feel like they're a part of something. It is designed as another type of cult or secret society or way to find people that, like I said, it's a recruiting tool. It's a way to tag people, find people, and now create a communication network from which, from the top down, in a pyramid structure, they're able to deliver a message and have it spread rapidly like a virus, like a mind virus, is how I've heard it described. And part of Q is AI watching how this virus spreads. There are a lot of reasons for the Q psyop. And I don't think they're wrong saying it's a psyop. It is a psychological operation, and it's a brilliant one, and I do believe there are wizards and geniuses behind it as far as wizards and geniuses go in the Babylonian sense. Mind control experts.
It's happening, and we realized we had to get our own network laid down. Q came in later, and its network was so appealing to people that millions joined in. So then you have a rogue element that doesn't have that network. They come in and they fight for that network, and that's called cyber warfare. And that's what happened to the original Q. An entity came in, beat them up, cyber warfare, they won, they left. But regular people don't know that. They still think it's the same Q talking to them, and it's not. So now, can we be specific and talk about that?
So that's the theory, and I've heard it before. Unirock said it before. I don't know if Defango's on board with that, but that there was an original Q and it changed. And Unirock has shown how the trip code was hacked at one point and that Q changed after that. And their idea is that, yes, somebody would want to take over this network. It's already created. It's the same reason that YouTubers are approached after they've already generated an audience and a following. Then it's a lot harder to start something fresh and build an audience. It takes a lot more time, although it's being done on YouTube also. But you can see it takes time for a channel to build a following and build an audience. So these psyops would rather just jump on board, and then in case the Q train, jump on board this very powerful network. And James Munder just popped in the chat and said, no infighting, I'm out of here. I don't think I'm infighting exactly. I'm talking about what these individuals are talking about, and I guess I'm asking questions about it. But I also take phone calls, so I'm really open to anybody's opinion about this, and definitely not saying I'm right, and I'm not sure I'm suggesting anything except what's publicly available, which is that Thomas and Betsy, in conjunction with American intelligence media, seem to be, and they say they have a collective, a conclave. They have some sort of a cult around their show, and they've tried to create their own network similar to the Q network since 2012. So I'm not saying anything that they're not saying. Thomas says he's NSA. He was an NSA cryptographer, so that's not anything that hasn't been said. And I'm saying they're absolutely right as far as I can tell. And it's stuff that DeFango and I have been saying for a long time. So I showed earlier about Q being a cicada puzzle or a puzzle of some sort. And as I've always said about puzzles, they are recruiting tools, ways to tag, identify, and then manipulate people.
That's the next stage. That was stage 1 I described with the riddles. You just described stage 2 and how it happened. I'm going to describe our reaction to it. All the original cues that were brought to me, I thought they were wonderful.
He also claims he's talking to Q. Talking to Q, or the original Qs, or the people behind Q. They're giving him information that nobody else is getting, I believe. So I'm going to skip ahead to something they say that caught my ear. Just that they say, they talk a really good game. They say, we're going to show you everything, but they don't show you their face. We don't know their first and last name. And they don't show us any information on the screen. Although they say they have all the information, how Q started exactly, what YouTubers are involved, and how they're getting paid. And we're not going to see that information, or I haven't found it anywhere.
We're discussing. We're not going to do one on this. It needs to stay audio only.
Here, it has to stay audio
only.
Very,
very amazing things, even as an ex-old school NSA. And yeah, old school. Go ahead, underline old school, you guys. I know. But it doesn't matter. I helped to design some of those systems, so I know the logic of why they work. Not the systems change all the time. So it's very easy. Now,
anyway, that's about what I have. NSA. And there are a lot of people in government on YouTube. For example, Roy Potter, who's also ex-military, happened to play an entire episode of American Intelligence Media before I knew who they were. Well, I thought it was just some really crazy, it sounded cult-like to me. It was an invitation to join their special group, and they say, don't get your news anywhere else. Only get it from American Intelligence Media and our crowdsource thing. And then they have an invitation to raise your consciousness and join a special group, one riddle at a time. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I'll take calls. And we'll lead into, quite frankly, show as we've done. If you guys, I had to delete the show from yesterday from YouTube. I'm trying to put up my phone number and open the phone. 650-GAY-TAXI. Let me get everything set up. Here we go. Phone's open. Okay. The show yesterday got deleted. I talked about Jason Goodman, and I was told by a number of people that Jason Goodman would give me a strike if there was any chance he could, and that I should delete the video. So I did. The whole thing is available on Twitch, the extended version, twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. I'm live there now. There are about 60 people tuned in. I had over 100 people tuned in at once yesterday. That was breaking a record. So the thing about Twitch is you download the app, search for Lift the Veil, follow, hit notifications. You'll get the notifications every time. Okay. Let me answer the phone. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nate. This is Jeffro.
Hey, Jeffro. What's up?
I just wanted to call and ask. The last time I called in was the first time, but I talked about David Hogg's video when he was in the school interviewing kids, and there wasn't a fire alarm going off.
Right, and he said it was 9:30, and he said it was like 12:30 or something. Also, he said a totally different time than the shooting happened.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the new video where he said he was miles away from the school?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, he says he was. There's like a leaked interview. I don't know if they meant to get out or whatever, but he's saying that he was miles away from the school when the shooting started and heard it and rushed over there as soon as he heard it. So,
interesting. I haven't heard that.
What that would mean is that he heard it, ran into the school where there was shooting, and then started interviewing people, which doesn't make any sense.
No, there are a lot of things about the story that don't add up, and it's hard to, sometimes I don't even look into it because I know I can't talk about it, but I'm still interested in what he said.
Sorry about that.
No. I mean, it's okay. We can say what you said. I don't think there's a problem with that. There isn't a problem with a lot of the things we said that got our channels taken down. But I'll look into that. Yeah, I'm interested. I'll take a look at that new video.
Okay, I know it's a bit off topic. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
But, all right, brother.
Thanks for the call, Jeffrey. See ya. Okay, cool. Hey, Doughboy in the chat. Hey, all the famous people in the chat. Did I tell you guys? James Munder popped by. Oh yeah, I did. James Munder is a QTuber. He has also extolled the virtues of Q, how it created this new network, and that we should all be a part of it and pump it and stuff. So James says he's legit. That's what he says. He's not getting paid. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hi, Nathan. Doug Coleman here. How are you?
Hello, Doug Coleman.
I was in your area recently, and I thought about coming and visiting you, but I live in the Philippines.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. How did you know you were in my area? You were here in California?
Yeah, I work sometimes at a power plant nearby.
Oh, okay.
But, I'm calling. Yeah, I'm calling to tell you that I think that we're experiencing some growing pains from getting off of the mainstream media narrative, and that the truther community is just learning what it's like to deal with this. What do they call the melting pot of ideas, or no, the marketplace of ideas?
In what ways?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of sources. In a way, we're overloaded with information, and instead of having a narrative that's fed to us, which is what we're used to, we're having to use critical thinking and discernment and stuff like that, that sometimes these skills have, well, maybe I shouldn't say atrophied, but laid dormant.
Yeah, right. People are waking up, right? They're learning to think a new way, and there is lots of information out there. A lot of it is conflicting, and it leads a lot of people, maybe even at the beginning, to reject some ideas out of hand because they don't go along with the other things they just learned about. And that does create growing pains, because then you end up having channels like mine just not too long ago calling every other channel, that didn't talk about things that I agreed with, saying they're a shill, or if I said now anybody who talks about Q is paid by the government, that, which I don't, I know isn't true, but would be a type of growing pain. Are you talking about conflict between truthers and not being united on a single message being part of these growing pains?
Well, sure, absolutely. And I saw Thomas and Betsy's video today. I have not yet viewed it. I just saw that it was posted, and it says agitating the alternative media. I mean, the question in my mind immediately was, what are they trying to say with that title? Are they trying to say that that's their purpose? Anyway, I mean, sure, we've got a variety of ideas out there, and they're all competing, and it's hard to go away from just passively accepting and agreeing, and we all have these categories because that's how our mind works, that, oh, this person's on the left, oh, that person's conservative, oh, and it's like if you're a libertarian, or if you're a free thinker of any kind, then you're in danger of being labeled and categorized and disregarded. But that's just part of the process. So
right. It is part of the process, right? And is it part of the process that I'd be asking questions about what Thomas and Betsy are talking about right now? And do you think the episode was fair thus far?
Well, I think they gave me grist for the mill, because I think that they've got a good point that Q changed. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but I mean, I watched some things by October Rain's Montegraph, and he published some things that said that Q was Clinton, and I think there may have been some struggle for control of that Q network, and that there may have been some kind of decision. This sounds so crazy. Some kind of decision on high that there was going to be a period of time in which the Trump team and the old guard, so to speak, existed in parallel, and that there would be, I mean, these people love to play games. They'd love to bet on the outcome of societal and national interests of all kinds. It's like a hobby to them, I think. When I say these people, I mean some globalist elites. It sounds crazy, but that's kind of an idea that's been percolating in my mind.
Yeah, well, and Q, as it is one of those games, is one of those puzzles, and I'm sure somebody's taking joy watching how it's spread out, watching how it influences people, watching how people jump on board and spread the message. And the fact that both sides might have used it is interesting. How do you think it would have ever benefited? I see it as a Trump-specific psyop of some sort, because it's mostly about trusting Donald Trump. How would it have helped out Hillary Clinton? Because I never understood that from Monograph. And Monograph has got some background that's worth looking into, too. I mean, I think he might have some military or something in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and he hangs out with Roy Potter, too, who I don't know about, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting connections, and disinformation is real. And you know, that phrase, disinfo is real. I think there's more to it than just acknowledging that disinformation exists. It's not always disinformation. Sometimes it's like that old saying about, you know, if 10 witnesses see a car accident from different angles, they're all going to have a different story. And I think that there are probably elements of control that, believe me, I know how silly. Anyway, I'm just going to continue on and let you know that I'm a rational individual.
You sound it.
These people, you know, I would assume that there are those who are vying for power, and some of them are white hats, black hats, and gray hats. And I mean, there are these subcategories or whatever that are. So I guess, I mean, you know, there may be elements of control and disinformation that have shared interests but different futures.
Yeah, it's very, very complex. Whatever it is, it's hard to say, and I don't like saying anymore anything is exactly one way or another way. And what American intelligence media may be doing altogether might be totally for things I'm totally aligned with, actually. And so I don't want to totally out of hand say that they're some kind of bad entity or bad actor in this whole thing. It could be they're a good actor. And like you said, every message can be interpreted differently. Everybody sees everything differently. So I try to keep that in mind.
I love the story about "We'll see," said the Zen master. I don't know if you've heard that one, but it's basically saying that the wise man in the tribe waits to see the interpretation. The whole tribe may agree that, oh, this was a bad event. Oh, that was a good omen. And the Zen master always says, "We'll see." We'll see,
right. Yeah, we'll see. That's the thing. We don't know. Well, we'll see, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Nathan.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. All the way from the Philippines. Thanks. See, weird, right? He's like, oh, I was going to come by your house. And by the way, I'm in the Philippines. There's some people listen to the show. Interesting people watch this show and listen to it on podcast. There's also a podcast. You can find that at Lift the Veil, anywhere podcasts are given away for free or sold. Lots of calls coming in. This is Nathan. You're on the air. Yes, Nathan, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm watching your show.
Great.
And I really enjoy it because you don't go along with the crowd. And that's what I like about you. So this is the thing, Nathan. I'm just your average person that goes to work every day just like everybody else, okay? You got kids, you got grandkids, you got it all. And I see this Q thing kind of like a Candy Crush. It just sucks you in. And you just get bored with it after a while. What I'm really concerned about is, and it doesn't match up. You know, there's so many inconsistencies with the Q thing. I watch the tweets. I watch Fox. I watch CNN. I watch you. I watch it all. And there's so much propaganda out there, and there's so much disinformation out there, and there's so much going on. There's just these bombs being dropped right and left. We don't hear about Houston anymore. We don't hear about the fires from last year anymore. We don't hear about Puerto Rico anymore. We don't know what's going on globally, truly anymore. We just don't know. And the thing that I'm concerned about with the Q is the people that are getting sucked in and distracted is that they're just not taking care of their business.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that concerns me. I think that people need to get back to the grassroots, and that they need to get organized in their own communities, and they need to start talking amongst themselves, because if the shit does hit the fan, that's where it's going to start at. There's nothing you or Q or anybody else can do for the people that live in their communities. There's definitely something wrong. There's something wrong with all of a sudden wanting to put a wall up. Walls also keep people in, as well as keep people out.
Yep.
You got this 5G technology coming. It just scares the hell out of me. You got the vaccine. You got this crazy weather. I live up here in Washington State. We couldn't breathe last year.
Yeah.
You don't hear that. You know, we couldn't go outside last year. These fires were not normal, okay? And everybody around here was like, what's going on? We live out in a farming community out here, and we've never seen so many mice. It was like a plague of mice. These mice would run across the road, and you would roll over them with your tires, and it was just like popping bugs. It was just like something you would hear out of Revelation. And then people are all about these tweets and these and all these distractions. I mean, I watched that Stormy Daniels thing Sunday night. Whippy do, man. She got $130,000 for sleeping with this guy.
Right.
I mean, this is our president, and you know, for the average person that spends 10, 12 hours of their day going to work and the rest of the time with their family and their husbands and their wives, you know, we don't have time for this crap. And Q isn't comforting to us, okay? And everything that's going on in our world is not comforting to us. You know, there's just a few people on here that are asking the real questions, and you're one of those people. You've taken a lot of flack for it, but you're one of the few people on YouTube that just doesn't go along to get along. So I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
And I really wish that other people would wake up. They think that they've been red-pilled, but I don't think they've been red-pilled. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they can get sucked in. You want to take a real red pill, and this is probably where everybody will say, well, I'm getting off this train. Why don't you get into the Bible? Why don't you talk to the Lord? He'll red pill you right away, okay? But the rest of that's the only red pill you will need. Get into the book of Revelations if you want a great awakening, if you want your eyes and your heart and your mind and soul lit up. You know, the Holy Spirit will reveal himself to you. He'll reveal. So many people out there are prophesying right now. That is so much more than Q could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
There's people prophesying. There's people that are seeing things, you know, down the road, and they're pretty scary things. They're seeing things that the Lord is giving them, not Q. And I could give a flip about all of this infighting on YouTube. I think there's a few of you that got a great foot in the door, and you could really do something with it. And that's what we need. We need people in the alternate media that are going to just not just talk about what everybody else is talking about and go off and talk about what's really going on. This other stuff is just a distraction. I don't have any respect. I voted for Donald Trump, but he was it was like the worst. Which demon is the worst evil? I saw them both as two demons, and it's like, you know, you're just pretty much screwed. And you know, that's where me, my family, my community, that's where we're at. That's how we all feel. But we all feel in our spirit that something's coming, and it's not good. It's just right there. For the first time in our lives, we're feeling like, hey, we better have some provisions. We better have a plan. We better not be depending on the government. I mean, if you lived out here in the western part of the country and you saw the fires going on in California, Washington, Oregon, Canada, Montana, Utah, Colorado, if you saw those fires in Idaho and the smoke, it was so smoky here. And they didn't talk about that. There was more damage done, more collateral damage done all in these states than Puerto Rico or Houston. But it never made the news. So what is that about? And the things that were burned to the ground, they were incinerated. There was nothing left, and nobody's talking about it. All they're talking about is this Q stuff. That is the scariest stuff. We've never seen anything like it. And the skies were so dark out here from the fires. It looked like a thunderstorm coming, but it wasn't a thunderstorm. It was from all of the fire. I mean, you'd have thought you were already in hell. And I don't get it. I don't get why people are so gullible, and you just put something in front of their head and people are off in 50 million directions. Either people are following Q, or people are following Fox, or people are following Stormy Daniels, or they're not following the real issues. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's distracted. Nobody knows what the heck's going on. I could talk to one neighbor and she's just bent out of shape about what she's heard about on Fox or CNN. Talk to another one, they're on about Q. You talk to another one, they're all about what their pastor says. You talk to another one, there's so much disinformation out there, nobody knows. It's exhausting.
What do you think there are a lot of issues, and we live in a world of mind control, and I just was at the protests in LA trying to take away the Second Amendment, and I saw the mind control firsthand, and thousands of people who are just there unknowingly zombies, slaves to some sort of system, not actually acting out of their own thoughts. What do you think the solution is? Where do you think we're going? We have some kind of calamity ahead of us, but do we need that to wake people up? I mean, it was all written that that's what happens, right? I mean, it's not like it should be unexpected.
Well, we all know what it is. It's the technology. We're all addicted to the Facebook, Instagram, all of it, all of the likes. It was done by design, and it's made us all zombies. I mean, I am guilty of it myself. I don't even know. I waste so much time checking my text messages or checking my phone. I've gotten into big fights with my husband or my kids or whatever about the phone. That's nothing new. But people need to get off the social media, and people need to start talking. You're absolutely right. And they have all the algorithms down. Everything is an algorithm now. Everything. We don't even need stores anymore. That's why they're closing down, and they could do everything. They already know what you want. I can go in and I can type things on, just search things. And then when I'm going to look at a YouTube video, the next video will come on something that I've searched. The other day I was looking for, different internet providers. And what do you know? The next advertisement I got was about internet providers.
Yep. Some people say I have to get onto another call too, but some people say that they'll be talking about something to a friend, and then all of a sudden they'll get an ad in their feed about something they were talking about. And it was just released today, and coming out ever since the Cambridge Analytica Facebook thing, is that that is the information they have. They have all the information about us, and they know everything about us, and are able to manipulate us that way. And like I said, it's a world of mind control. It was a great call. I hate to cut you off, but I have a lot of people trying to call in. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Yeah, it was a great call, but there are a lot of people trying to call in. 650 Gay Taxi. T-shirts at truthclothing.io. Truthclothing.io. That's Truth Revolution Clothing. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey Nathan, it's Eileen here from the Channel One. How you doing?
Hey, what's the Channel One?
I talked to you about a month ago about the Middle East and the banks trying to kind of manipulate the wars in the Middle East to take over the currency. Remember that? It was quite a while ago.
I think so. Go ahead. What's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize because I'm the one who's been like hammering your email with AIM videos because I just wanted to get your take on it. I wanted to see what you thought about their coverage of Facebook stealing the technology from this other company that's now going to the Supreme Court to get some billions of dollars of financial repayments because the Department of Defense supposedly stole the technology from the Patent Office and handed it over to Facebook, and they created these million people platforms, PayPal, YouTube, Facebook. Now, that's how I came into contact with AIM, so I started sending those videos to you to see what you thought. And then they started exposing the SES.
Right.
And I started looking at, like, the links they would drop in their descriptions and then go kind of, like, follow those links. And it felt like the SES expose was legit. But now that I've been listening to this Q only talks to me now, don't listen to Q4 or Q squared, they just really sound like they've lost the plot. So I'm like, does that make their previous work suspect about Facebook being built upon a stolen technology and the SES? I don't really see the Q thing affecting their previous work, but they've lost their credibility in my eyes with this Q infighting.
Oh, because it's starting infighting? Is that so? They've lost credibility because of trying to discredit Q? Is that what you mean?
No, I think it's because you and Unirock discredited Q a long time ago, months and months and months ago. And personally, I thought the first Q was a psyop. Mm-hmm. I know that I think you think the first Q might have been legit. I know Unirock thinks the first Q might have been legit.
Not legit, but different than the one that came later, and maybe a better puzzle, like the whatever was originally intended to be. But it was always pro-Trump, so that makes me suspicious. But yeah,
me too. That's why I was suspicious, because I know enough about how the deep state operates to know that they control both parties. That's like a no-brainer. So as soon as somebody starts saying, well, Clinton's bad, Trump is good, well, then I've got to go get information from somewhere else.
Right.
But the fact that AIM, after doing what looked like really good work on the SES, is now getting into Q infighting, I just feel like they've lost the plot a little bit. That is old news.
Yeah, it is old news. That's the truth. And so why are they coming out with it now? You know, that was another person who changed their tune was Roy Potter, who oddly is connected to them too. And so that's...
when I listen to Potter, I get the heebie-jeebies. My skin starts to crawl. So I think he's psyop. Yeah. And the same thing happens when I listen to Jason Goodman. And who's that guy? Lionel Nation?
Right.
I don't get the heebie-jeebies when I listen to you. So that's
good.
why I'm always listening to you.
That's a good start. Yeah, well, so that's the next question then. If Q's a psyop, and then these guys are a psyop, but they're discrediting Q, then I'll just tell you my thoughts on it, is they have to control all sides of everything. So they know some people are going to be suspicious of Q, so they want to seem like they're telling the truth, right, by calling Q out. And I don't think any of the information is bad that they said. I mean, they said how it really goes down, I'm pretty sure, and what Q is all about. I think they're probably accurate. So I wouldn't necessarily discredit any information they've given before. I just have to look into.
That's what people are saying. They're saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But why would people who are controlled opposition give us real facts? That's really confusing.
Well, the
SES is accurate, but the Q stuff is, ego. Their egos are talking.
Right. Well, they say disinformation is 90% truth, or 99% truth, some people say. So you have to give the truth to get people's trust, and then you drop in things here and there. It's sort of like Q, actually. I mean, Q, people say, well, what has he ever said that's not true? Well, except for all the predictions he's made. But there is maybe good information in there, and I think a lot of the stuff they said about Q is true. Well, I think it's true because I said it before, and Defango said it before, and Unirock said it before. So it's interesting to hear it come from somebody else.
Yeah, 3 months later, they're now arguing over Q. But today, I swear to God, I heard him say today, I'm talking to the real Q.
Right.
I know I heard that. So if anybody else heard that out there,
I've been playing his videos.
I'm going to jump back in.
Yeah, I've been playing his videos. He definitely said that. He's talking to the real Q or Qs, team of Qs.
And he might be. If you look at his work on exposing the actual names of the people in the SES, he might be. Yeah. But whenever somebody says that, I immediately tune out because I hear too much ego. I hear too much, oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I've heard that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. All right, great. Well, thanks so much for the call. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Nathan. Bye.
All right, see ya. Great. Okay, we'll take more calls. I know, quite frankly, it's probably starting his show, but there are a number of people tuned in very interested in this topic, so I'll take more calls. Remember to get a T-shirt. Truthclothing.io. The Russian bot shirt is great. I'll show you because I got a bunch of people tuned in. This is what I do for money for the show. Supports the show, gets a great T-shirt. Mostly real Truth Matters and Russian bot. Russian bot next shipment is on its way. It should be done soon. We pick them up, actually. Locally done. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan. John from Los Angeles. How are you, sir?
Hey, John. What's going on?
Loving your show today. The phone calls have been bomb-ass, off the hook, incredible. This is one of the best live shows I've ever heard in my life, man.
Great. Well, I can't take credit for the phone calls, but I agree with you. They have been great.
Well, you do present the forum. Again, the thing I love about your show is you can stand in the middle, look at both sides, and we're all trying to figure out a way out of this 3D Matrix video game we're in. And maybe that's what it is. Give everyone all kinds of information. The ones that can figure it out, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying to elevate out of 3D. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to comment on this. I'm glad you were actually on this Q thing today because actually I get a lot of updates. I see a lot of stuff, and I'm surprised to hear different factions of this whole Q movement. The thing that does always worry me is when people are just so pro-Trump and just saying, this is it, and he's going to do all this. It's never one man. There's millions of people in D.C., all controlling their little factions, their clubs, their societies, and they're all fighting for control, and there's a shitload of them up there. And the one thing I think about with the Trump thing is when people are just so pro this one side, that's exactly what they want to do. If it all falls to one side, it gets to be what we don't want it to be.
Right.
Right. So I look at that and I just say, for me, my point of view is this. Those are all criminals up there, all of them. They're elite criminals. Yeah, they're not slinging guns and slinging lead in the streets, but those are all criminals responsible for the other criminal activity, drug activity, all the weapons, all the shit that goes on. That's a fact. So when someone is coming in to clean up, I'm from Chicago. I'll be a little familiar with the mob thing here. I'll out myself. Here's the deal. When one side gets real sloppy, let's say like the Clinton side, whatever, and it's too egregious, it's too well known, and it's bringing attention to the family, so to speak. Those people will be discarded, let's say. They'll be let up to arrest, they'll be clipped, whatever the hell happens, because you're attracting attention to family business. To them, it is a family.
Right.
One dresses blue, one dresses red. They all eat at the same restaurants and clank their champagne glasses, laughing at us. That's factual. So I look at it like that. They're just gonna get rid of another family and get a little more control and a little bit more for their faction. That's all I think is going on with this whole goddamn thing.
You mean with Q? Okay, so just to restate what you said, I think I understand that this Q faction is kind of discarding this old, or is going after this old clique, this Clinton cabal, and they're exposing it piece by piece, and that's the information they're leaking out. And it's true information, but it's because their time has come. They got a little too sloppy, and they need to be exposed now, so this other faction can take over. Is that what you're suggesting?
I believe that's part of the take, and also the psyop warfare part of it. Some of it's a control game to see what people do, what they think, what they feel.
Right.
I think it's a very multi-layered situation. But as far as just political players, these people that take office, they may come in clean, but they'll get you out on Jeffrey Epstein's private airplane, and they got you, they own you. That's the game.
Right.
So when people come in from representative levels, yeah, they are grassroots good people, but they will be pulled into an office and told, you're not going to fuck this up for me because I make a lot of money. I've been on this hill a lot longer than you, and this is how it's done, and you're gone.
Right.
And that's how it is. You go one way or the other.
Right.
So they'll get ready. They'll discredit you. They'll ruin you, or they'll just take you out. You know, I mean, a lot of crazy shit happens. You know, like this woman, Nancy Schaefer, who was a senator from Georgia. She came out against human trafficking in '95, and suddenly she got shot, and it was apparently a murder-suicide, yeah. So she got shot, and the husband that shot her apparently decided to shoot himself in the chest.
Right.
No one chooses to go out that way.
Right.
That's telltale. I think it always leaves a message the way they do their business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's too bad how you see people get knocked off after they say something sensitive.
Oh yeah, and if they won't back down and go away, they will make you go away, because this is organized crime of the highest level. I'm talking about all global governments, but ours is, especially being a capitalist thing, it is all about the money grab, the power grab, all this stuff. The women, it's always there. And Stormy Daniels thing, who cares? I don't think he was even married at the time when that happened. I don't even give a shit about that. It's just noise to me. It's another thing. It's just more crap. They throw out more chum in the water, you know?
Yeah.
Again, I just look at this as like one side getting rid of the other, so they can all say, oh, look, we did this. Yay, yay, rah. We're all safe. We're all clean. It's all gone away. You can all go back to work and send your taxes to us. We'll take care of the money. You just work, little people. That's how it is.
Well said, sir. That's great. Yeah, thanks for the call. I agree with you.
Absolutely, Nathan. I love your show, man. And if I tell you, my friends back in Chicago, that I listen to a guy who has a show on YouTube from his father's garage, co-hosted by a cat, you do realize I'll probably get clipped.
Describe it differently then. And have them tune in anyway, right?
Yeah, well, I love your show, Nathan.
All right.
You're my favorite thing to watch, brother.
Thanks. I appreciate you. Cheers.
All right. Have a great day, Nathan.
Cheers. That's cool. People are cool to listen to this show. Okay, I haven't been going too long, and a lot of people are trying to call, so I'm just going to leave the phone open for a little bit. It's 3:57. I know that. Let me see. I think, quite frankly, he's going. I would go to Twitch, but I don't want to be. Well, he doesn't get a lot of his audience from mine anyway, so he is live. But I'm just want to get in a few calls. This is Nathan. You're on the air. Hello? You're on the air? Okay. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Nathan, it's Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hi.
What's
I was
up,
just talking to people in the chat. My friend just got back from L.A.,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, what the hell are all these SJWs doing in the airport? He said he's seen thousands of, like, pink-haired people. And I'm from Detroit, so there was all these weirdos flying back to Detroit with like pink hair and nose rings and shit. And he's like, where are they all coming from? Because he flies there quite frequently, about once a month, and he's never seen this before. And they all went to the protest. He's like, how did these people get money for this? And he said that Delta was comping them.
Yeah, Delta was comping flights, huh? Weird they were comping them to L.A. too, and why those people wouldn't just go to D.C. But yeah, Delta was comping flights for people to protest.
Right.
Interesting that people would have been flown into LA. I mean, it was a big protest, and there were a lot of buses.
To DC.
You know, those are people who are going to DC. Okay, got it.
But they probably, if you had your choice, Detroit is crappy and rainy. Would you rather go to DC or would you rather go to LA and get some free sunshine? You know.
But you're talking about in LA. Wow, that's really interesting. It's really interesting.
They did, yeah, because he has verifiable proof. I'm like, did you get pictures? He's like, no, it just hit me afterwards. He's like, he's seen
weird.
thousands of them at the airport. It's like, and you don't normally see people like that flying in big groups, like because they're broke. They take the Greyhound, right?
Right.
You don't see them getting on commercial airlines.
Yeah, that's
weird. And they
weird.
flew them, like I said, all parts of the country.
Well, it was a huge protest. I saw buses near the Staples Center, which wasn't too far away. So I think they were definitely busing people in. And man, it was just a lot. It was really a lot of people. A lot of people.
It did, but it's AstroTurf. You got to keep in mind.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're panicking because people are waking up. Where was the big protest for the people allegedly murdered in Las Vegas? There was much more people killed and wounded, and you didn't hear a peep. It's like, hey, you got to yawn. It's like, hello. Is there, have they showed the guy that was allegedly wounded with the cowboy hat? He had like one little scratch on his scalp. He didn't get his hair shaved. And
well, we know there were lots of problems there in Las Vegas. So, and they didn't push for gun control after Vegas because I think they lost control of that whole story. But you're right on that.
But they pulled it off.
Yeah.
They pulled off another one right after. They went from that to Florida. They're not giving up. They're like viciously. And I think it's blowing up in their face because people are starting to wake up like, wait a minute, this doesn't pass the smell test. They're shutting down channels for nothing, for just mentioning a person's name. They shut your whole channel down.
Right.
They gave a strike to the guy that did the video, the High Impact Flicks. He did that video with the guy with the scalp. I don't know if you watched it, but they took it down within a couple hours. I'm like, oh, look at this. There's no blood on the guy's hat. There's an entry hole but no exit hole. Come on.
Right.
How stupid do they think we are?
Right. Well, we know.
Anyway, I just wanted to tell you about the SJWs at the airport.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Big red pill.
Yeah, that is a big red pill. All right.
And then
thanks, Ron.
The Q thing, it's not all BS because I was using it to red pill people, and they threw me out of there because they're like, no, you can't talk about 9/11. I'm like, why can't I? Like, there's infiltrators running the board as moderators, and as soon as you get down to like the directed energy weapons, boom, they jumped all over me like instantly. I'm like, oh, we talk about 9/11 every day. Let's change the subject. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been on here for weeks. I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
Wow.
And I wanted to get that out there to them, but I'm kind of over it because those groups are controlled. All the big groups you see on YouTube, they're controlled. The moderators and admins, they're controlled opposition. They won't let you talk about anything substantive. They're like a limited hangout.
Right. All right. Well, yeah.
Anyway, Nate, nice talking to you.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it.
All right.
Interesting. Yeah, I was at the rally in Los Angeles, the March for Our Lives rally. More and more people keep tuning in, so which means that the phone calls are interesting people. Mostly my videos haven't been getting much traffic after they're over, so I'm just going to keep rolling with phone calls. But we know about the questions about Las Vegas and all that stuff and channels being shut down. And just a reminder, I'm live on Twitch right now. Phone's open. The last call didn't go through. And shows are always available after the fact there as well. And I'll be uploading it to DTube and BitChute. I'm on all the different platforms. I have my podcast at Lift the Veil. So there are a lot of different ways to find me, and you're finding me now live on YouTube. Thank you for finding me here. We're getting some great phone calls. We had a very interesting show earlier. Doshi is thrilled. I don't know why this phone call isn't ringing through. I can see it keeps showing I'm missing it. Thank you, same person, for calling over and over. But for some reason, the phone isn't ringing. Sometimes it does that. Sometimes it rings when it's turned off. Maybe I'll call him back. Seems to be having problems. I'll call them. Okay, I'll call them. Maybe it'll work. Hopefully it will.
Reached the voicemail box of 9.
Gotta turn that off. They're calling me, but damn, phone's not ringing. Sometimes I'm using Google Voice. Oh, there. Okay, now it'll go through. That was weird. Okay, now it'll go through. That person's just calling so much that my call went straight to voicemail. Go ahead and call again. Thanks. Seems like people were into the show today. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Nathan.
Hey.
How you doing?
Great.
This is Evan from New York.
What's up?
What's up? This is like a really interesting topic. You listening to that Thomas and Betsy jarred something in my memory about, like, they're relating it to that puzzle thing, cicada.
Yep.
I didn't quite get the connection to that, but that seems interesting because that's like, what, an invitation to join, like, intelligence network?
Allegedly.
Like
a lot of people say that.
Solve it.
Yeah. Yep.
So it seems like that's coming from the other side of the fence, so to speak.
Yep, that's where Betsy and Thomas were going on it, and that's what DeFango 4 months ago said, that it was related to cicada. I hadn't heard him until a couple months ago when I heard him related to cicada. And people will say those online ARGs or puzzle games are designed to ferret out people that could get recruited to intelligence agencies. And I think a lot of what they said, those two people said about Q is right on. And yeah, it's it's a psychological operation of some sort, a phenomenal one.
Right. And then there's sort of I hear a lot about AI, and that could be everything they say it is, but then again, on the other hand, they could be exaggerating the potential for AI to sort of get under people's skin about how all-powerful the deep state is.
Right.
Which is kind of, that would be a satisfactory outcome for the deep state either way.
Right. Just for people to think that there's a larger apparatus of control than there actually is. Yeah, well, it's an open question how powerful AI actually is at this point, regardless of how powerful it might be in the future.
Yeah, and there's the result of people self-censoring, which would be, a win for the other side. And just to get back to that cicada connection, I haven't made the connection personally. I don't know how they relate. But if they do, I think that's a red flag, personally. And even if Q is, the other thing that sort of jarred in my memory was that, like, I started observing Q sort of, like I became aware of it, and then there seemed to be a big controversy, or like Q's been compromised, and it changed venues, and then people just sort of acted like, oh, okay, Q's back, la-di-da-di-da, and I mean, I could be misremembering it because it was a while ago, and I wasn't like, paying attention to it as closely as some other people have, but it seems like if there's if Q changed venues, I mean, Q may or may not have been what they thought it was in the first place. And then Q goes off of 4chan and onto some other, and it seems like, let's say Q is real, or the original Q is real, then I think they couldn't start soon enough to try to compromise that.
Right. Which is what Thomas and Betsy say, is that Q had developed this incredible network, this incredibly powerful thing. So, of course, somebody would want to take over of that network. And Unirock talks about how he documented how the original Q trip codes were hacked. And he said that he thought Q changed after that. And that's a little bit what Thomas and Betsy say, is that Q is totally changed, yet people are still every day looking at every Q drop, solving these puzzles, which maybe were meaningful at the beginning, but now are just baloney,
Right, and there might be there seems to be a bit of a disconnect there. Like, people were so relieved that Q came back,
right,
that they're not looking at it with that sort of, they don't, maybe not taking that step back and saying, is this the same Q? Was the original Q what I thought it was?
Right.
And it has that, like, it certainly takes some people's attention, like a lot of attention, and they get invested in it.
Yes.
And that's part of, what makes me a little wary of it too, and the publicness of it.
Right.
Just using Occam's razor, like the simple answer is the answer, or the most likely is that this thing would be shut down quick if it was what they thought it was.
Exactly. If it's such a secret, if we're learning something that's so special, then why is that everybody on the world knows about it and they're doing comedy sketches about it? I mean, how's that, how those things add up?
Yeah, and that, I mean, I'm not, like, I don't enjoy, I get no pleasure from sort of seeing it that way. But I've learned over the years, going down these rabbit holes, that you got to sort of hold your ground and not just be like, yes, this is it. This is all the marbles in one basket. And because we as public people are not privy to the type of information that can verify this stuff. In fact, I would go so far as to say we're the likely targets of any sort of campaign to just sort of confuse people on a larger scale. And this could be simply, I hate to say it, an effort to troll Trump supporters from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you mean troll them? Do you mean to get them to jump on the train, or to get them leading down the wrong path, or what do you mean troll them?
Well, okay, so let's say you're a deep state operative, or a team of operatives, and you want to get people to think that Trump is having some tremendous successes behind the scenes, just to keep them occupied, so they're not really being effective, so to speak, in the real world. That they have an internet sort of carrot to follow, and that's keeping them well occupied and sort of hoping for the best for the future. Like, oh yeah, Trump's on 4D level chess,
Right.
And I'd be happy if he was, because we certainly have a real mess. But this could be part of a counteroffensive to keep Trump supporters well occupied with something that's not going to really pay off in the long run during a very critical time where, I don't know. To me, if Trump, if they don't manage to expose what the extreme left seems to have in mind for the country, then it's just like there could be a tipping point where it's just a matter of time. Like, if we can get past this, then we're home free. Whether it's gun control or some combination of issues.
Right.
And also just to, they've done a pretty good job of acting like nothing ever happened before Trump got into office or during, since the election, where it's like, let's make a fall guy out of this guy. Say what you will, like Trump, don't like Trump. I think this is a recognizable phenomenon for anyone who's not completely brainwashed, by the left.
That they're trying to take him down and destroy him, you mean, from the mainstream media, from the other side of things, you mean? Yeah.
Not only that, like, blame him for stuff he had nothing to do with.
Right.
Act like, all like the Obama administration is somehow pristine and that he's just ruining everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, and it's totally with backwards facts, saying things that are the opposite of the truth, that he colluded with Russians, when in fact it's the other side that colluded with Russians.
Thing they're doing is outlandish.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I would be personally, that personally to me that's shameful. And I can hardly believe my eyes and ears to see that it's actually caught on with a lot of people, and they seem ready, willing, and able to further this narrative. and just let's act like up is down and right is wrong and cowardice is bravery, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. The peace is war.
They're becoming comfortable with it.
Got the helicopters flying over.
What is that?
I have a helicopter over my house all of a sudden. There, he's gone.
Is it back?
No, I don't know. I see him flying over. Flew right over my house just now. Anyway, what were you saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you get the idea. And the only other thing I would like to bring up is Betsy and Thomas themselves.
Yeah.
It's almost like it comes full circle with those two, because they don't, I have what I would personally consider to be a healthy skepticism towards Q. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit I find it interesting, and I have paid some attention to it to try to understand it, but, not nearly as invested as some people, and guys like Green, he seems like a nice enough guy, but he's very invested in it. And,
Anti-school, yeah.
Yeah, anti-school. Seems like a cool dude, but, it's that critical thinking, man. If you find your issue and it just washes, if it takes you off your game as far as critical thinking is concerned, or you think you know things that are not really knowable at this point, or from this position that we're in as just members of the public.
Right.
I can understand hoping for the best. Which brings me to Thomas and Betsy, because they are definitely claiming to have like all type of insider information going on, this conclave thing.
Yep.
And I found out about them because of Q.
Okay,
so
interesting.
I don't know what they were like before Q was in the picture, but they're certainly, I guess, increasing their audience.
Yeah.
Within this little, tussle that's going on.
Yeah, they are.
They've helped to create the tussle, that's for sure. But the idea of those two being like somehow important people or whatever is almost like ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is it, a LARP, or is it a psyop? Because the idea that it's real is almost like zero probability to me.
And why do you say that? I mean, why do you say they couldn't possibly be so important as they say they are?
I don't think they couldn't possibly be. I'm just between the style of their presentation, not showing their face. Maybe I should look into their older videos and stuff too. But I'll tell you, I'll be the first to admit that what picks up the slack is gut feeling.
Right.
Behind what I hear and what I see and what I don't see. And it makes me wonder, like, what are they getting out of this? You know what I mean?
I wonder too. Yeah, that's why I did today's show. Is I'm not sure. I'm curious.
Because I'm asking, if they're really like helpful people with helpful and well connected, does that really add up?
Right.
I'll take a wait and see on that, because I want to, I'd like for people to be what they present themselves to be. But again, it could be as simple as trolling. I hate to say it. I mean, what do you think of that? Is that crazy?
I don't know. Anything's possible. I'm
gonna
keep watching them. I'm gonna keep watching them and see. I was just pointing out some things I found out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna turn away.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep watching them, and we'll find out. But it's very interesting, and I have some experience with this guy Thomas, I believe, who wanted to meet with me and who I've spoken with on the phone actually. Who before I knew anything about this, Thomas, who's also a cryptographer and stuff, who has this American intelligence media, which has some sort of a collective or a conclave, and seems to be recruiting for some type of a cult or secret society. I mean, there's some weird stuff going on there. Right. So I'm definitely curious to learn more.
And that sort of echoes the cicada, like, solve this puzzle and we'll give you a harder puzzle. And if you work your way through all the puzzles,
You'll find the spear of destiny.
Yeah. You know?
Yep.
It's like, so if that's the case, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't like people who are like, here, follow this breadcrumb, follow that breadcrumb.
Right.
I'll give you an example. I remember when the flat Earth thing started to sort of penetrate the conspiracy realm.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what are these guys talking about? And I click on the video, and I only lasted a few minutes because whoever was presenting the video was like, go outside and take 2 sticks and put them in the ground and measure 4. Like, all of a sudden I have an assignment about how to prove that the Earth's not round.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Not a globe.
And I'm sort of like, nah, man, don't give me a friggin' project. You know, tell me what you got to say.
Right.
Don't give me some project to do.
Right.
So I'm a little wary of stuff like that, and maybe there's a little of that going on. Like, I kind of feel the same way about, you know, you're going to give me puzzles to solve.
Right.
And then certainly unsourced material is something you got to be suspicious of.
Right. Right. Exactly.
No matter where it's coming from.
Yep. Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. You got to look into this stuff. And that's how they're not exactly showing on their screen what the evidence is that they say they have.
Yeah, you know, I was watching the other day. They had I guess it was at the UN, and they were talking about the Russian guy who got poisoned in London. And, you know, they were just basically saying, well, we stand with London. And it's like, yeah, but what about the proof? You know,
right.
Like, what's the, you know, when you tell me something and I'm supposed to take you at your word, my next question is, well, who are you?
Right. Yeah, well, that's the question. I guess that's what we want to find out about these guys. I got to wrap up the show. You're my last call. Great phone call. I appreciate you calling in.
Hey, great talking to you, man. I'll keep watching.
Okay, cool. See ya. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I already went into Quite Frankly's show. For those of you who refuse to leave YouTube, go ahead and tune over to Quite Frankly. He's live now. He's been live for a little bit. If you want, he's a Trump shill to some extent. So far, from what I've seen, but that doesn't make him an honest person trying to tell the truth. I'm going to do this for fun since everybody's tuned in. We'll take some more phone calls at Twitch. Download the app on your phone. Find Lift the Veil or twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. I'm live there right now. I'm going to end the broadcast on YouTube, and I'm going to stay on the broadcast on Twitch where I am now, and I'll take a few more phone calls from people who didn't get a chance to call in during the show. And that is what is going to happen. Did I promote everything? If anybody wants to join us on Discord, there's the invite for that. Let me move this Twitch thing. That's the Discord invite. Put in the lowercase and uppercase letters into your navigation bar to get warped into LTV chat, which has a lot of side chats. And I told you about my t-shirts. I told you about everything else. So from Doshi, from me to YouTube, that is what it is. Stay tuned on Twitch.